Welcome to Starlight Tea and Other Remedies, a peaceful journey into a realm where magic flows as gently as properly steeped tea. If you prefer to skip directly to the story, you'll find timestamps for each chapter in the description below. For those who'd like to settle in with us, let's take a moment to create the perfect space for rest and dreams. Find a comfortable position, one that allows your body to fully relax. Just as Aria's tea shop welcomes wandering souls with warm light and soft cushions, let your bed or chair embrace you completely. Notice how your body is supported like a delicate teacup resting perfectly on its saucer. Your head might feel heavy against your pillow, your limbs becoming as still as the surface of freshly poured tea. Allow any adjustments to happen naturally, each small movement bringing you closer to complete comfort. Now, let's share a few breaths together, as gentle as the steam rising from a cup of twilight comfort tea. Breathe in slowly through your nose, as if drawing in the soothing scent of dream sage and star jasmine. Hold that breath for a moment, like precious starlight in a crystal jar, then release it through your mouth with the softness of evening mist. With each breath, imagine the floating lanterns of the evening pearl dimming ever so slightly, creating the perfect twilight atmosphere for our story. Let your thoughts drift like tea leaves settling in warm water. There's no need to follow them. Simply allow yourself to be carried along by my voice, like a peaceful soul wandering into the eternal twilight of the evening pearl tea shop. Now let our tale begin. Chapter 1. The First Pour. The evening light streams through the beveled windows of the evening pearl tea shop, casting prism-shaped patterns that dance lazily across the wooden floors. Aria Moonweaver moves with practiced grace, her soft footsteps barely audible against the aged floorboards as she prepares for another twilight of serving celestial-infused teas. "Come along, Jasper," she whispers to her crystalline companion, who stretches languorously on a velvet cushion. The translucent cat's fur sparkles with tiny points of light, like a piece of the night sky given feline form. His gentle purring fills the air with a soothing vibration that seems to make the floating golden lanterns pulse ever so slightly. Aria's fingers trail along the curved shelves, touching the cool surface of crystal jars filled with her special blends. Each container holds carefully preserved constellation essences, captured during specific astronomical alignments. The Pleiades blend sparkles with sisterly warmth, while the Cassiopeia mixture shimmers with a royal purple hue. "Let's begin with the evening ritual," she murmurs, selecting a jar of Northern Star tea leaves. The familiar routine brings a sense of peace first, warming the delicate porcelain teapot with hot water, watching as wisps of steam rise and curl like gentle thoughts. The water is emptied, and the leaves are measured with a silver spoon that chimes softly against the crystal jar. Around her, the shop settles into its evening atmosphere. The ceiling's constellation patterns shift with dreamy slowness, matching the rhythm of Jasper's breathing. Water begins to heat in the copper kettle, producing a soft musical burble that mingles with the cat's purring. The scent of vanilla moonflower begins to drift through the air as Aria opens a jar of her signature evening blend. She adds dried star jasmine, watching as the petals unfold like tiny dancers in the jar. A pinch of dream sage follows, its silvery leaves catching the light from the floating lanterns. Time moves like honey in the evening pearl, slow, sweet, and golden. Aria arranges constellation-shaped cookies on tiered plates of opalescent porcelain, each tier turning slowly like a gentle mobile. The cookies shimmer with edible starlight, a pleasant side effect of being baked in an oven warmed by captured constellation light. As twilight deepens outside the windows, the shop's interior grows even more enchanting. The floating lanterns drift lower, their light softening to a warm glow that makes everything feel pleasantly drowsy. Jasper rises from his cushion and winds his way between the tables, leaving a trail of sparkles that fade like gentle sighs. Aria pauses by the window, watching as the first evening star appears in the perpetual twilight sky. Its light seems to reach directly into the shop, touching the teacups she's arranged and making them sing with a barely audible chime. This is her favorite moment, the peaceful transition when day releases its hold and allows night's gentle magic to flourish. She moves to the front door, turning the sign from resting to welcome. The letters shimmer with constellation light, inviting wandering souls to find comfort within. Tonight, like every night, the evening pearl will offer its particular magic, peace served one cup at a time in bone china cups that warm the hands and soothe the spirit. Jasper settles near the door, his purring growing deeper and more rhythmic. The floating lanterns pulse in time with his contentment, creating a gentle light show that reflects off the crystal jars and curved windows. Everything is ready. The first pour of the evening awaits, and with it the promise of tranquility for all who seek it. Chapter 2: The Wandering Writer. As the evening deepens into a gentle twilight, the chimes above the door sing their soft welcome. Marina, a writer with tired eyes and ink-stained fingers, drifts into the evening pearl like autumn leaves carried on a breeze. Her shoulders carry the familiar weight of creative exhaustion that Aria has seen many times before. Jasper rises from his cushioned perch, his starlit fur rippling with a gentle phosphorescence as he approaches the newcomer. His purring deepens to a soothing resonance that seems to make the very air vibrate with comfort. Marina's tension begins to soften, like frost yielding to morning sun. "Welcome!" Aria's voice flows like warm honey, matching the golden glow of the floating lanterns. "I believe I have just the blend for you." She moves with unhurried grace toward the constellation-marked shelves where crystal jars catch and release gleams of starlight. Her fingers find the Lyra's lullaby tea, its contents shimmering with musical possibilities. The ritual of preparation begins. Water heated to precisely the right temperature sends up curls of steam that dance like poetry in the air. Aria measures the constellation-touched leaves into a strainer of silver mesh so fine it appears to be woven from moonbeams. The teacup she selects is the color of dawn pearls, with a pattern of musical notes that spiral lazily around its rim. While the tea steeps, Marina settles into one of the deep velvet chairs that seem to embrace their occupants like old friends. The chair's deep navy fabric reflects tiny points of light, mirroring the star-speckled ceiling above. Jasper arranges himself at her feet, his purring synchronized with the gentle bubbling of brewing tea. The aroma of Lyra's lullaby begins to fill the air, notes of star jasmine and dream sage mingling with the ethereal scent of constellation essence. Marina's breathing slows to match the rhythm of the steeping tea, her fingers relaxing their grip on the notebook she carries. Aria approaches with the prepared tea, moving at the peaceful pace of clouds crossing an evening sky. The teacup floats just above its saucer, creating the softest chiming sound as they connect. "Allow the stories to find their own way," she murmurs, placing the cup before Marina. "They're like stars, they shine brightest when we don't try to grasp them too tightly." As Marina lifts the cup, the tea's surface ripples with tiny points of light, like a miniature galaxy waiting to be sipped. The first taste brings a sigh of contentment, and with it, the faintest sound of distant music. Lyra's gift woven into the very essence of the tea. Stories begin to drift through Marina's mind, no longer elusive but floating gently like motes in a sunbeam. Her notebook opens of its own accord, pages turning with the delicacy of butterfly wings until they find an empty sheet waiting for new words. The floating lanterns dim slightly, creating pools of softer light that cradle the peaceful scene. Jasper's purring melds with the subtle music of the tea, creating a cocoon of tranquil sound. Marina's pen moves across the page with the unhurried pace of waves touching shore, each word flowing naturally from the one before. Time continues its honey-slow journey as Aria tends to her other guests, always moving with the same measured grace that makes every action seem like part of a peaceful dance. The evening pearl holds its gentle magic steady, providing a safe harbor for creativity to bloom in its own quiet way. Chapter 3. Midnight Bloom. The celestial alignment brings a special kind of twilight to the evening pearl, painting the air with subtle waves of aurora light. Tonight, the stars seem to lean closer to the shop's crystal windows, their light creating gentle ripples across the wooden floors, like moonlight on still water. Aria arranges cushions in a perfect circle, each one placed with deliberate care. The velvet seats are deep purple and midnight blue, scattered with embroidered constellations that shift and twinkle as though reflecting real stars. Jasper moves between them, his crystalline form leaving trails of stardust that settle like soft snow. The aurora blend calls for gathering, Aria whispers to her starlit companion. She reaches for a special teapot, one made of opalescent porcelain that seems to capture and release light with each movement. The floating lanterns drift lower, their golden glow dimming to match the intimate atmosphere of the coming ceremony. One by one, guests arrive, each stepping through the door like notes in a lullaby. Their voices remain soft, matching the hushed atmosphere that blankets the shop. A musician whose melodies have gone quiet, an artist seeking new colors, a gardener who's lost the names of flowers, all drawn to this gentle communion of souls. The Aurora blend preparation becomes a meditation in itself. Aria adds layers of tea leaves like she's composing a symphony. First, the bass notes of dream sage and moonflower, then the harmony of star jasmine, and finally, the shimmering essence of the aurora itself, captured in crystalline drops that dissolve with tiny chimes. Steam rises from the teapot in ever-changing patterns, sometimes forming shapes that remind the gathered guests of forgotten dreams. The scent weaves through the air, vanilla and stardust, with hints of celestial mint that seem to whisper ancient stories directly to the soul. Jasper settles in the center of the circle, his purring creating concentric rings of soft light that pulse outward across the floor. The ceiling's constellations begin to mirror this rhythm, stars pulsing in time with the cat's peaceful breaths. Teacups float to each guest, landing with the gentlest of touches, like falling feathers finding rest. As Aria pours the Aurora blend, each stream of tea catches and holds light differently, creating mini auroras in every cup. The liquid moves with the consistency of silk, and tiny sparks of constellation light dance on its surface. The familiar sound of tea being poured becomes a soft melody that accompanies the evening. Stories begin to flow as naturally as the tea, shared in voices that never rise above a whisper. Tales drift between guests like clouds sharing rain, each one carrying a small piece of magic. The musician finds hints of lost melodies in the steam from her cup. The artist sees new colors in the way starlight plays across the surface of the tea. The gardener remembers the names of night-blooming flowers. Time flows like the tea itself, warm, gentle, and without hurry. The floating lanterns mirror the rhythm of shared stories, brightening softly with each new voice and dimming comfortably in moments of peaceful silence. Jasper's purring continues its steady rhythm, a foundation for this gentle symphony of souls finding connection. Outside the windows, the actual aurora paints the eternal twilight in sheets of soft color, as though the sky itself is participating in the gathering. Inside, the warmth of shared tea and gentle conversation creates its own kind of light, one that seems to fill the empty spaces in each guest's heart with a soft, sustainable glow. Chapter 4. The Quiet Between Stars. Morning twilight filters through the evening pearl's windows, bringing with it a different quality of peace than the evening hours. Aria stands beside her new apprentice Luna, a young woman with eyes that reflect starlight and hands that tremble slightly with anticipation. The shop holds the special kind of quiet that exists between night and dawn, punctuated only by Jasper's gentle purring from his window seat. "Tea leaves speak in whispers," Aria begins, her voice matching the hushed atmosphere. She selects a jar of celestial silver tips, leaves that shine like tiny mirrors in the early light. The crystal jar makes a musical sound as it opens, like wind chimes touched by the gentlest breeze. Luna watches with focused serenity as Aria demonstrates the proper way to measure the precious leaves. The first lesson begins with the ritual of warming the teapot, watching steam rise in perfect spirals. Aria guides Luna's hands through the motion of pouring, teaching her to move with the natural rhythm of flowing water. "Like stardust settling," she murmurs, as Luna learns to let the water fall in a thin, graceful stream that makes no sound as it meets the porcelain. Jasper moves to join them, his crystalline form casting prismatic patterns across the wooden counter. His purring takes on a teaching tone, somehow deeper and more rhythmic than usual. The floating lanterns adjust their height and brightness in response, creating the perfect illumination for reading the delicate patterns that will form in the tea leaves. Time slows to a meditative pace as Aria demonstrates the art of folding napkins. Under her guidance, the soft fabric transforms into constellations. Here a swan in flight. There the great bear walking across a starlit plain. Each fold is purposeful, each crease made with gentle intention. Luna's fingers begin to find their own rhythm, creating patterns that seem to hold whispered stories within their folds. The morning progresses through lessons in listening to the sound of tea as it steeps, to the quiet music of porcelain cups touching saucers, to the subtle differences in Jasper's purring that indicate the quality of a brew. The floating lanterns drift in slow circles around them, their light painting soft shadows that dance across the teachings like visual lullabies. Steam reading comes next, interpreting the shapes that rise from perfectly heated water. Aria teaches Luna to see the messages in the way steam curls and disperses, each pattern holding meanings as delicate as morning frost. The air fills with the scent of dream sage and star jasmine as they practice with different blends, each one requiring its own specific temperature and timing. Throughout the morning, regular guests drift in like gentle currents in a stream, each receiving tea served with newly learned grace. Luna's hands grow steadier with each pour, finding confidence in the peaceful rhythms of the shop. The ceiling's constellations shift in approval, twinkling like proud stars watching their wisdom being passed on. Aria shares the secret language of tea service, how the angle of a cup can offer comfort, how the placement of a saucer can suggest tranquility, how the rhythm of pouring can match a guest's breathing and help ease their tensions. Luna absorbs these lessons like a moonflower drinking in evening light, her movements gradually becoming as fluid as her teacher's. The shop's magic responds to the teaching, creating an atmosphere of enhanced serenity. The wooden floors seem to absorb and reflect starlight, while the crystal jars on their curved shelves chime soft harmonies when either tea mistress passes near. Even the air feels more peaceful, as though the very act of sharing these ancient practices has deepened the evening pearl's enchantment. Jasper demonstrates his part in the tea ritual, showing Luna how his purring can enhance the steeping process of certain celestial blends. His crystalline form glows with subtle colors as he moves between the teapots, each shade indicating the perfect moment for different types of tea to be served. The apprentice learns to read these signs with growing understanding, her eyes catching the same starlit gleam that marks all true tea mistresses. As the lesson draws to its natural close, Aria and Luna share a cup of twilight comfort tea, letting its warmth and wisdom settle into their bones. The morning's teachings hover in the air like the most delicate of mists, each piece of knowledge finding its home in Luna's heart. The shop holds them in its peaceful embrace, the quiet between stars stretching out in perfect contentment. Around them, the evening pearl continues its gentle dance of welcoming and soothing, but now with 2 pairs of hands to tend to its special magic. The floating lanterns pulse with slow, steady light, while the ever-present scent of celestial-touched teas wraps around them like a comfortable shawl. In this moment of shared understanding, teacher and apprentice find themselves perfectly aligned with the shop's eternal twilight, their hearts beating in time with its gentle rhythms. Chapter 5. Starlight's Embrace. The day's final twilight settles over the evening pearl like a soft blanket being drawn across the sky. Aria moves through her closing rituals with the same gentle grace that marked the morning's opening. The floating lanterns drift lower, their golden light dimming to match the hushed atmosphere of approaching dreams. Jasper observes from his favorite windowsill, his crystalline form reflecting the day's collected starlight. His purring has taken on the deeper, slower rhythm that signals the shop's transition to rest. The sound mingles with the quiet tinkling of cups being carefully stored away, creating a lullaby of peaceful closure. The curved shelves of constellation-touched teas stand in serene order, each crystal jar holding its own universe of comfort. Aria's fingers trace their labels with familiar affection: Pleiades, peaceful dreams; Cassiopeia's comfort, Northern Star serenity. Each blend holds memories of the souls it has soothed, the stories it has helped tell, the peace it has helped find. For her final task, Aria prepares a special cup of twilight comfort tea. The ritual feels different in these quiet moments, more intimate somehow. Water heated to perfect temperature sends up spirals of steam that dance with particular grace in the evening air. The tea leaves unfold slowly in the strainer, releasing their celestial essence with gentle sighs. The ceiling's constellations shift into their nighttime pattern, stars moving with drowsy contentment across the darkening expanse. Below, the wooden floors reflect their light like a still pond reflecting the night sky, creating the illusion of walking through space itself. The shop seems to breathe more slowly now, settling into its own kind of rest. Memories of the day drift through the air like motes of starlight, Marina finding her stories in the steam of Lyra's lullaby, the peaceful communion of the Aurora gathering, Luna's first lessons in the ancient art of celestial tea service. Each memory adds its own warm glow to the shop's peaceful atmosphere. The scents of the day layer themselves in gentle waves: dream sage and star jasmine, vanilla moonflower and celestial mint, each one floating past like a friendly ghost bidding good night. Even the air itself seems to hold the essence of comfort, weighted with the accumulated peace of countless cups of carefully brewed consolation. Jasper rises and begins his evening patrol, his paws leaving temporary constellations in his wake. The floating lanterns follow his path, dimming further with each pass until they glow no brighter than distant stars. His purring maintains its steady rhythm, a foundation for the shop's evening song. Aria settles into her favorite armchair, cradling her cup of twilight comfort tea. The velvet embraces her like an old friend, and she feels the day's magic settling into her bones. Steam rises from her cup in shapes that remind her of dreams waiting to be dreamed, stories waiting to be told, comfort waiting to be shared. Outside the windows, the eternal twilight deepens to its richest hue, the color of peace itself. Inside, the shop holds its collected warmth like a treasure, every corner filled with the soft echoes of quiet conversations and gentle revelations. The border between waking and dreaming grows pleasantly fuzzy, like watercolors bleeding into one another. Time moves with the consistency of honey dripping from a spoon, sweet and slow and golden. The shop's magic pulses in time with Jasper's purring, a gentle heartbeat of enchantment that grows quieter with each beat. The floating lanterns dim to mere suggestions of light, barely brighter than remembered stars. The last sip of tea carries the essence of every peaceful moment the evening pearl has ever held. Aria feels it spread through her like starlight through water, a final blessing for the day that's been. The empty cup chimes softly as she sets it down, a sound like a distant lullaby. As sleep approaches on soft feet, the shop cradles its keeper in layers of accumulated peace. The eternal twilight outside the windows has deepened to the color of dreams, while inside, the collected starlight of countless cosmic brews fills every corner with gentle radiance. Tomorrow will bring new souls seeking solace, new stories to be steeped in constellation-touched waters, new moments of peace to be shared one cup at a time. Jasper settles at Aria's feet, his crystalline form now glowing with the softest of lights. The shop holds its breath in perfect contentment, every element in harmony. The tea-touched air, the star-scattered ceiling, the gently floating lanterns, all creating a symphony of serenity. Here, in these final moments before dreams take hold, the evening pearl offers its deepest magic, the perfect peace of a day well spent in the service of comfort.